Hello! Welcome into a wonderful Wednesday evening. It's September. It's Chicago. Man, let's just enjoy life for a little bit, shall we? You have found your way to Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. My name is Adam Karnick. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to spend some time talking some Chicago sports. Let's have some fun tonight. We got some baseball news to talk about. Cubs and White Sox made some moves at the trade deadline. More the Cubs than the Sox. We'll talk about that a bit. And then, in 11 days, there is professional football that matters. It's been a long time coming. We are so ready. Let's talk about this upcoming Bears season. Let's talk about the quarterback situation. Let's talk about it all. You found your way to Chi-Town Weekly. Let's have some fun. Here we go, everybody. All right, once again, my name is Adam Karnick. You found your way to Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Take care of some housekeeping business. First of all, you can follow all of our shows by checking out IE Sports Radio on Twitter at IE Sports Radio. This show is on there as well at Chi-Town Weekly, IESR, and weekly, again, is abbreviated WKLY, and then you can follow me directly on Twitter at Adam_Karnick. So baseball's trade deadline. It's weird to have it be just 30 games into the season, but again, it's 2020. We've had everything's been weird about this baseball season. Both teams in town kind of in similar spots, finding themselves on September 1st, both in first place. Hey, outstanding, hooray. But at the same time, both in kind of very different spots overall. Let's start with the Cubs because they made the more moves. 4 moves for the Cubs. The first, Jose Martinez, a couple days before the deadline. Martinez, technically from the Rays, but of course, everybody remembers him from his days with the Cardinals. He's going to spend some time primarily being a designated hitter. That way you can give Caratini and Contreras some time off, some true days off. Here, manager Dave Ross has been doing a lot of, if Contreras is catching, then Caratini's being the designated hitter. If Caratini's catching, then Contreras has been the designated hitter. Now those guys can actually get some true off days with the acquisition of Martinez. Occasionally Martinez might slip into the outfield. He's going to be the designated hitter for the Cubs. Cameron Maybin, another outfielder. This is, if the Cubs made an obvious upgrade in their 4 moves, it's in Cameron Maybin. Another outfielder, can play all 3 outfield spots, though primarily you'll see him probably in either left or right field, probably left field more often than not, because he'll be coming in as a defensive replacement towards the end of the game. You'll also see him as a pinch runner. Not going to see him a ton at the plate. Very similar to the role that Albert Almora was playing. The difference being, though, that Maybin does give you a little bit more consistency at the plate than Almora. And Almora actually got sent down to the alternative site in South Bend as a result of the moves. Almora could be looking on his way out of the club as a whole, but that's a conversation for another day. So Cameron Maybin kind of slides into that role of being the late inning defensive replacement, and then also a pinch runner late in games if you're needing to try to swipe an extra base or get some good base running in there late in the game. And then a couple pitchers. Everybody that's been looking at the Cubs, myself included, has been saying, boy, early on it was looking at, boy, if there's one spot that this team really needs some attention, it's in the bullpen. They don't have much in that pen. Two left-handed pitchers, they definitely needed that, as they had only one active lefty really in the bullpen. Now they've got Andrew Chafin, who he's currently hurt. The team keeps saying, we'll see him next week. I've been reading reports that are closer to that. It might be more the middle to end of September before he actually throws some meaningful innings for the Cubs. And then Josh Osich, who he went ahead and pitched right away last night and had some excellent results right away for the Cubs last night pitching in Pittsburgh. So some dividends there. So they get a couple left-handed arms. And what they were trading away were players to be named later. They didn't have a whole lot of assets to trade. Not the deepest of farm systems any longer at this point in the Cubs championship window. They're towards the end of that. The cupboard's a little bare with the farm system, so not a lot of assets to trade. They did trade away Jack Short, shortstop prospect. Obviously, you've got Javi Baez, you hope, for many more years. So Short was a little blocked there from getting on the Major League roster, so that makes sense. And then the rest of the players are just players to be named later. Guys that the Tigers and the Orioles and the Rays and the Red Sox will say, yeah, we'll pony up later and figure out what we're going to do. A lot of moves, but not a big, obvious, yes, we want that guy. Yes, that's going to be a guy that's going to turn the tide for you. Yes, that's going to be a guy that's going to obviously put you over the edge as a championship contending team. And I'm not surprised by that. You weren't going to fix the problems with the Cubs in this trade deadline. And let me tell you why. Ultimately, the problem with the Cubs lies in Chris Bryant, Anthony Rizzo, Javier Baez, and Wilson Contreras. Those four guys are not contributing up to their standard. Rizzo, he's getting there. He's started to level out a little bit. For the season, he's hitting .225 with an on-base plus slugging or OPS of .815. Those are getting better. Those are trending up. They're still below his career numbers. But listen to the other three guys. Bryant hitting just .191 and a .600 OPS. Those are way down for him. Yes, he's been hurt. He's been out the last couple weeks with a wrist injury. But even before that, he was struggling. He was having problems. Javier Baez, batting average of .200, OPS of .612. Yikes. Way low on his normal numbers. Not what you're used to seeing out of Javi. And then Wilson Contreras, .198 average, .668 OPS. There were no moves the Cubs could make short of outright replacing those four guys that were going to fix this team in time for a postseason run. Now, don't take this the wrong way. I think the Cubs are going to make the postseason. They've got over a 95% chance. Fangraphs has had the number. They're over 95% chance to make the playoffs. There's 8 clubs in the National League that are going to make the playoffs. There's still, I believe, they're the only team in the National League Central with a winning record, or if they're not, then the Cardinals are. Yeah, the Cardinals are 1 game over 500. Excuse me. The Cubs are still well in front in this division. I expect them to make the playoffs, but in order to make a deep postseason run, they need those 4 guys to step up. They've been riding offensively on guys like Ian Happ and Jason Hayward and David Bodie coming up big offensively, and then their starting pitching being lights out. Well, the starting pitching is starting to trend down. Lester's gotten roughed up his last couple starts. Alec Mills has kind of plateaued off. You've got Chatwood hurt, and now you've got Jose Quintana, who is hurt. He's headed right back onto the IL. They just announced that today, that he suffered a little bit of a setback, that they threw him on the injured list retroactive to August 31st, but it sounds like he could be out for a while. So now you're going to be relying more on Adbert Alzolay and who knows else helping you out pitching. Your bullpen was already shaky. So you're going to need Bryant, Rizzo, Baez, Contreras to step up and help. And there were no moves you could make that could replace those 4 guys. They're going to sink or swim with those 4 guys. So I'm not surprised by the moves that the Cubs made, because ultimately the solutions are already there on the roster. Either those 4 guys are going to step up and carry the team, or the Cubs are going to drown. That's simply what's going to happen. On the other side of town, the White Sox, almost nothing. They acquired outfielder Jarrod Dyson from Pittsburgh. He is not going to be taking Luis Roberts' spot on any kind of a consistent basis. You know, Luis Robert just got the American League Rookie of the Month award for August. They're not replacing Robert with Jarrod Dyson. That's just not going to happen. Dyson is going to be a pinch runner, maybe a late inning defensive replacement. Get him in there instead of Eloy Jimenez in left field. That's what the Sox are going to be looking at with him, and nobody else. I'm not surprised. The Sox are ahead of schedule. This is year 1 of their championship window. Really, I think it's more of like a year 0. They're a little ahead of schedule. They've got another 6, 7, 8 years to be going after World Series titles. They've got a stacked farm system. They've got a bunch of young guys. You don't need to sell the farm this early in the process. You still don't know what Robert and Jimenez and Madrigal and Gonzalez and Giolito and Tim Anderson. See what these guys can do together. See how far they can carry you. You don't know what help your roster really needs yet. So, yes, were there some pitchers out there that you'd love to see in a White Sox uniform? Yes. There was the pitcher from the Rangers. I'm blanking on his name that they were looking at possibly moving, or there was some other bats out there, but the price tag was steep, and there was no emerging need for the White Sox. The White Sox are sitting pretty, and you're playing with house money this year. See how far your young guys can go. Maybe they can take you the distance. Maybe they won't. Maybe they'll get under the bright lights, and it'll prove that the big stage will prove to be a little too much for them right now. But that's okay. This team is going to be set for such a long time. Again, a 6, 7, 8 year window is just now beginning to open. You don't need to go nuts and go acquire a bunch of guys for the White Sox. So I like the move from the White Sox to basically stand pat, See how far these guys can take you, and then in the offseason, then you'll have a much better idea getting into the offseason for the White Sox to see how far, where your holes are. Where do you need to plug up and shore up? This series right now with the Twins for the White Sox is a great example. They're learning so much. Yes, they lost last night to the Twins, but you learned about your team. You played in a tough game. Yeah, you lost a lead late, but you learn and you grow from that. The Sox are in a much tougher division overall than the Cubs are. You got 3 teams all within a game and a half. The Cleveland, Chicago, and Minnesota all within a game and a half of each other. They're going to be there in contention towards the end. Yes, the White Sox, again, they should make the playoffs too without having to make any of these moves, and then have some fun with it. See how far these kids can take you. Just find out what you can from this roster so that you can head into the off season and then have a better idea of where you might need to plug some holes. All right. That was my requisite baseball talk to get that done and over with. Not that I don't love baseball, I do. It's a fun sport. But man, the calendar's turned to September. Next week's going to be a little cooler in the air. It's football. Bears had their last practice today before getting down to serious business. Let's talk about the Bears. Let's talk about the NFL. This is Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Come on back in a few.
Hey guys, it's Blake Henley, better known as H-Town Blake to some of you. Happy to announce that Bases Loaded is back in full force. We'll be bringing that high heat every Tuesday night here on IE Sports Radio. So come home, get ready, dig into that batter's box, and see if you can chase that high heat, baby. So we'll be coming to you live with all the stats, all the rundowns, all the division rivalries, and every team that's going to make the playoff push to get to that one and only October and get to the pinnacle of what baseball is, to hoist that Commissioner's Trophy when it's all said and done.
College football, and do you want to hear a college football show dedicated to all that is college football, including junior college in the CCCAA and in the NJCAA, the NAIA, and the NCAA, including Division III, Division II, Division I AA in the FCS, and Division I Single A in the FBS? Well then look no further. Join myself, Larry B., and my colleagues, Mr. H-Town Blake Henley, and Mr. Christian Espinoza, each week during the college football season for the latest in college football on 3 and Out College Edition, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey USRN fans, do you have a product or company you're trying to promote? Look no further. USRN is teaming up with small local businesses trying to establish themselves via online promotion. Let us know if you're interested. Email us at usrnradio@gmail.com to learn more.
Hey, what's up, BS3 sports fans? If you love listening to the BS3 Sports Show, check out the Weekend Wrap-Up every Monday at 12:15 Central Time, 1:15 Eastern, recapping the weekend in sports like you never heard it before. Comedy, interactive chat room, it's a must-listen. Weekend Wrap-Up on Spreaker.com, part of the X Squad. Check it out. You won't be disappointed. Hey, what's up, sports fans? You're looking for a different type of sports talk show, something you haven't heard before? You gotta check out the BS3 Sports Show every other Saturday on 2 Live Stews Radio, 1 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Eastern. Sports talk at its finest. Always have great guests, playing some good hip-hop. You don't want to miss it. Make sure to tune in to the BS3 Sports Show every other Saturday at 1 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Eastern.
All right, and welcome back into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I am your host, Adam Karnick. Thank you so much for joining me, whether you're listening live right now or you're checking us out after the fact. Download via Spreaker or on YouTube or any other way that you're listening. Thank you so much for spending some time and talking some Chicago sports for a bit. All right, so we talked about baseball for a little bit. Now let's dive into football. The Bears concluded their last real practice of preseason this afternoon. They've got a light walkthrough, contact-free on Thursday. Then they go into the weekend giving the players off, and they'll have all the NFL teams have to make final cuts this weekend. Obviously, the biggest talk and the biggest concern for the Bears this offseason was the quarterback. You've got Trubisky, you've got Foles. Here's this competition. Who's going to step up? Who's going to win the thing? And then you take the wrinkle of eliminating the preseason game, so it's all just going to be practice. Who's going to step up? Are we going to know? How are we going to know? Coach Nagy last week said, I'm going to wait to hold a start. I'm not even going to name the starter until September 13th, that first game against the Lions. And he had to walk that back. And, no, I guess that's not really what I meant. Well, good, because we know that's just gamesmanship, that you're going to have a starter pick before then. They're going to name their starter a week from today. We're going to know based on when they go out there to practice and you see who's out there with the ones. That's who's going to be the quarterback. Is it going to be Trubisky or Foles? But after practice today, I want to read you some quotes from Nagy here. He had some very coachy, NFL football coachy things to say after practice. Talking about the quarterback competition. Quote, "It is not easy. It's not clear-cut. The way we look at it as a coaching staff is that sometimes people will say, well, if you have 2 quarterbacks, that means you don't have any. But we know what we have in these guys. We feel really good about both of them, and being as brutally honest as I could be, it's difficult." End quote. That's a problem. If it is truly difficult, and I'll take Coach Nagy at his word that that it's difficult right now to decide who the winner of this competition is. That's a problem. I talked about it a little bit last week, that there are not enough starting caliber quality quarterbacks in the NFL to go around the entire league once, never mind twice. There's no way that both Trubisky and Foles have done so well in these practices that you could look at them and say, Either guy, we're spoiled for choice. Either guy we put in will be fantastic. It'll be spectacular. We'll go far. We'll know we'll win because of either of these guys. There's no way that's the case. So what you have by not being able to name a winner, by having this difficult choice to make, is that means you've got two average quarterbacks right now. You've got two guys that, okay, in any given week, they might be able to have that spectacular game. Super Bowl MVP in Nick Foles, or playoff hero in Nick Foles. Let's go back to the wild card game in Soldier Field, the Cody Parkey game. That was Nick Foles that led that game-winning drive. Or Mitch, let's look at some Mitch highlights. The 6-touchdown game against Tampa Bay, or the shredding of Detroit. Basically, anytime he has played Detroit, he's done really well against the Lions. Or any other time you've looked at Mitch and gone, yes, there is that guy. It's always been a flash. It's never been consistent. That's the problem. What you wanted to have come out of this competition was one of these two guys was going to step up and show that on a consistent day-in, day-out basis, they could be the guy that you knew, this is a guy that's going to carry us to victory. And instead, what Nagy is saying, at least how I'm interpreting, how I'm taking it from what Nagy is saying by saying they've got a difficult choice to make, is that, well, you've got two guys that we can win with, but not because of. That disappoints me. I shouldn't say I'm surprised. I am a Mitch fan. I like Mitch. I hope that Mitch can turn into that guy. And I think that it's better off for the team as a whole if he does become that guy. But the clock is ticking and it's running out. We'll see next week, and I guess now's as good a time as any. A show reminder, starting next week, I will actually be on Monday nights. So when I next go on the air, when I next talk with everybody, we still won't know. So the next time we have a conversation where we know, we'll be recapping the Lions game, and then we'll see how that goes. But it's bothersome that we don't have that answer yet, because otherwise this team is for the most part ready. I know the national perspective on the Bears is bleak. I've seen anything from 3-13 up to, well, they might go 500 again and they might challenge for that extra wild card spot. But outside the city of Chicago, very, very few people are very high on the Bears. This is a team that, even with some really bad quarterback play last year, still finished 8-8, still was there, still was relevant, still was, just a couple plays here or there away from being a wild card team, away from being a contender. So I think the team is still there. You look at the defense as a whole. Akeem Hicks, he's been out a little bit with some injury issues. It doesn't sound like it should be anything too serious. He should be able to play come game time. He's back. You've got obviously Khalil Mack, and now the addition of Robert Quinn, an outside linebacker, to help. You've got Khalil Mack's little brother. I'm excited for him. I'm excited to see what he can do. I think you plug him into some mix and match opportunities. You pick his spots, and he might be able to take advantage of everybody concentrating on Big Brother, and Little Mac might be able to come in and make some plays for you this season. Yes, they're going to miss Eddie Goldman on the defensive line, I think more than a lot of people realize right now. They're still kind of trying to figure out. It looks like it might be Bilal Nichols that slides into that nose tackle spot. I feel like that nose tackle spot might be more of a rotational spot throughout the season, that they'll just kind of ride the hot hand for a little bit at that spot, especially for the first few weeks of the season. The secondary for the Bears, I think, is the biggest question mark on the defense. Obviously, Kyle Fuller is spectacular on one corner. On the other corner, you were hoping it was going to be Artie Burns in that other corner spot. He tore his ACL. He's out. Obviously, the plan was to work Jalen Johnson, the rookie, in there at some point. And I am high on Jalen Johnson. I think he has the tools and the skills and can be that guy on the opposite side of Kyle Fuller. If they plug him in week 1, you know he's going to get tested early and often. He's going to get picked on. And until he proves that he can stop teams on a consistent, he can stop the other team's wide receivers on a consistent basis, he's going to get tested. They're going to keep throwing at him until he proves that it's a mistake to throw my way. And then you've got Eddie Jackson back in the free safety spot where he belongs. But then the other safety spot, you've got some concerns. They brought in, right now it sounds like it might be Deion Bush that's going to be the starter next to him. But that wasn't necessarily the idea this offseason. You know, you had brought in Tayshaun Gibson specifically because he's played next to Eddie Jackson before. He knows how to play with Eddie. He knows how to play safety opposite Jackson, and the two of them could be a great 1-2 tandem. It doesn't feel like that's working out yet to this point. So you're having to go with Deion Bush or maybe even DeAndre Houston Carson or some of those other guys. So that other safety spot, the strong safety spot, could be a bit of a weakness going in. That's there. If there's a glaring hole on the Bears defense, I feel it's the secondary right now. That's where they're gonna get tested, and especially against the Lions in week 1, and just the way the NFL is now, it's a pass happy league. Your secondary has to be on its toes all the time. You know, if they don't put in Jalen Johnson at the other corner spot, there has been talk that Buster Skrine, who is regularly the nickel corner, he might slide in and be your starting corner outside, that Buster's capable of doing that. But then who do you put into the slot spot? You know, do you put Sherrick McManus there? He's probably the most likely guy to go there. Do you put in Xavier Crawford? Who do you put in? I feel like there's a bigger drop off at that nickel spot, which is anymore in the modern NFL, your nickel corner spot is such an important spot anymore. He's out on the field far more often than he was 10, 15 years ago. Your nickel corner is almost a starting spot anymore. That fifth cornerback spot, because other teams are constantly throwing 3 or 4 wideouts out there, or 2 wide receivers and a tight end who is a tight end in on paper only, that in reality he is a wide receiver. On the offensive side of the ball, you've got holes. And again, a great quarterback can help plug those holes just by being above average and being that excellent starter. If the Bears don't have that, then those holes that they have throughout the offense get magnified. They did virtually nothing to improve the offensive line this offseason. That's going to be problematic. You had Kyle Long retire. Are you having Rashad Coward slide into that guard spot? Are you going to have... how are you going to plug those holes? This was an offensive line that kind of fell back to the mean, fell back to the average last year after you had everybody have their best. Each of them had their best seasons in 2018. They fell backwards a lot last year. They fell back to the norm. They really didn't do much to help that offensive line. That could be problematic. At wide receiver, Obviously, you got Allen Robinson, who's spectacular, who's excellent, who's one of the best wide receivers in the game. I hope that Allen Robinson is due for an extension here. Ryan Pace is known for Labor Day weekend extensions, Labor Day weekend surprise moves. Certainly, everybody's been clamoring for the Allen Robinson extension. He's certainly deserving. You look at it outside of that, though, you got to have somebody step up, be it Anthony Miller stepping up and showing better than he did last year, or if you have somebody like the rookie Darnell Mooney step up and do some things for you. I'm excited about Mooney. Mooney is a speed guy. I'm really excited for Darnell Mooney to see what he can do. He has the potential to be a lid lifter, to be that guy that the corners and the safeties have to take a few extra steps further back in their coverages just because you're afraid of that guy blasting past people. They kind of had that with Taylor Gabriel the last couple of years. I'm excited to see if Mooney can be an upgrade in that regard. There's a lot of things in football that you can teach. One thing that you can't teach is speed, and speed kills. And Darnell Mooney has speed to burn. So I'm excited to see what he can do. Riley Ridley coming into his second year. Is he going to take that next step and be a consistent contributor in the wide receiver room? There's a lot of potential there in the wide receiver room. It's time to see if that potential can turn into something for this team. Tight ends, everybody was making a big deal all throughout the offseason. Oh my gosh, the Bears have 1 million tight ends. They got 9 tight ends. They got 10 tight ends. What do they need with all those tight ends? They were never going to keep all those tight ends. You look, when they get to the final 53-man roster plus the extended 16-man practice squad now, they're not going to have all those tight ends. They're going to have 3 or 4 guys, and it's going to look much more traditional in that tight end room. I don't know. Jimmy Graham, I've said it before, I'll continue to say it. Jimmy Graham couldn't make it work with Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback. I don't know how you're going to make it work with either Trubisky or Foles. I know the Bears they've been so anxious and so excited to show us every single possible highlight reel play that Jimmy Graham has made throughout training camp. Okay, bully for you. Jimmy Graham's made some good plays in training camp. You're also picking and choosing what plays you're showing us with these highlight reels. I don't expect a lot from Jimmy Graham. I think he's going to be you pick your spots for him, you pick your right situations, and then let him thrive in those. But don't rely on Jimmy Graham. Cole Kmet, it's hard for a rookie as a tight end to contribute right away. There's so much you got to learn. You gotta learn how to block. You got to learn how to run your routes. You got to learn how to get off your ball. And then, there's all the stuff you got to learn about being a pro on top of it. It's not the same as being in college. Cole Kmet, I hope he has a spectacular season. I hope he jumps out and has great strides. I think for this year, tap the brakes on Cole Kmet a little bit. Let him kind of grow into the position a little bit. Don't expect that he's going to be Antonio Gates 3.0 or the young version of Jimmy Graham or whatever you want to look at there, or George Kittle or Travis Kelce right out of the gate. I'm excited for Kelce, but I think this year may not be an accurate representation of what he truly can be for the Bears. And then the running backs. I talked about it last week. The injury to David Montgomery, that hurts. He was your only real traditional running back in that room. Everybody saw that Leonard Fournette came available. You're gonna hear an ad in the next break. IE Sports, Larry has started up the 3 and Out full season previews across the entire league. This week is AFC week, and I believe next week is all NFC week. I know I'm going to be sitting down with Larry, and we're going to be talking Bears and doing some fun conversations about the Bears. I haven't gotten a chance to listen to the AFC South one from today. I need to go back. I'm so anxious to listen to what they had to say about the Jaguars, because, man, the Jaguars are a thing. The Jaguars are such a thing in the AFC South. You can't really tank in the NFL, but, man, if the Jaguars aren't trying, props to you. And so now that Leonard Fournette's available, everybody's, of course, oh man, can they get Fournette? Can they get Fournette? Can they get Fournette? Matt Nagy downplayed that today. I'm pulling up the quote here exactly. And again, this is coach speak. We really like where we're at right now with our running back room. I understand. We explore everything. Ryan and those guys do a great job. They're always looking at all scenarios. And then we talk through all things. And so we look at it all. But I'll just say we really like where we're at right now with where we're at with our running back room. End quote. Matt Nagy, bull. Bull, you're happy with where you're at with your running back room. You have Tariq Cohen, a jitterbug scatback that might die if you put him up through the tackles on a consistent basis. You have Cordero Patterson, a converted wide receiver. You have Ryan Nall, who is a special teams player, and you have an undrafted rookie free agent in Artavius Pierce. No way are you happy with your running back room right now. Yes, I know, rose-colored glasses. Oh, Montgomery will be fine. He'll be back in time for the season opener. Even if he is, Leonard Fournette just ran for over 1,100 yards last year as a between-the-tackles runner. You don't have one of those. That would be a huge asset to being able to run the ball and be able to control the clock and take pressure off of your quarterbacks and open up your situation for your wide receivers to have more room to run routes against the defensive backs, because the defensive backs won't know that it's going to be a pass play. And it's so funny, I've heard so many people post and write and talk about since Fournette got cut that, well, he's a great player, but he doesn't give you much out of the backfield. He had over 70 catches last year. He gives you plenty out of the backfield as a receiver. He rushed for over 1,100 yards last year with the Jaguars. He can help you. Go sign that man. I know that his contract situation is interesting right now. It could be that the Jaguars owe him nothing more of the $4.1 million that he was guaranteed for this year. There's some offset language and things like that from some discipline and from some years back. So they might owe him nothing, or they might owe him the entirety of that $4.1 million, even if Fournette signs with another team. Meaning, in theory, he might just be motivated to sign with a team just because and not be so worried about the money. I don't think it makes sense for the Bears to sign him long term. They don't have cap space to sign Fournette long term. But man, Ryan Pace, get on the phone with that man's agent. Talk to him. See what it would take. You owe it to this team to help out your running back room, man. At least put out a flyer. Go see if he's interested. I did hear earlier this morning somebody suggest that, boy, he would look good in a Steelers uniform. And thinking about it, you're right. Put Fournette in a Steelers. I can picture it in my mind's eye. He just looks like a Steelers running back. Throwback to Jerome Bettis and Le'Veon Bell and anybody like that. Yes, I could see that. But man, if he can't, if the Steelers don't want him, or if the Bears can get to him first, sign him. Go get that man if he wants to be here. All right, I'm looking at time. I'm a little late for a break. We got one more commercial break to take. Then we come back. I want to take a quick spin around the NFC North as a whole before we focus in on, start having games to focus in on. This is Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Lopan, they didn't even want you. Heck, they didn't even want me. But you know what? Right about now, they have no choice. Looking for the real sports talk? Talk that's for us, the people? Look no further. The Wait a Minute Show, a prime time sports comedy cocktail that tucks you in at night. Join me and Lopan Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the 2LiveStewsRadio.com and Saturday 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the WaitAMinuteShow.com. Sounds like a plan to me. Ain't that right, Lopan?
Indeed.
What's going on, football fans? This is me, your boy Larry B, inviting you to join myself, Colin Reynolds, Mike Pat, and John Felipe for one of the most electrifying football shows you have ever heard. 3 and Out, right here at IE Sports Radio. Recap of the week before, a preview of what's to come, and of course, 3 hardcore head-to-head prime-time face-offs each week. You don't want to miss it.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hi everybody, it's Calvin here from USRN, here to give you an important message. Since 2017, we have done our absolute best to provide you with nothing but the highest quality of sports calls in the greatest of quantity possible. Thanks to you, our station has grown more than we ever thought. That's why, with your help, we would like to grow even further. Just think, twice the amount of your favorite calls, 24 hours of coverage, talk shows, play-by-play, game-by-game analysis, and so much more. That's right, USRN2 is officially in development. But we can't do it alone. We have set up a GoFundMe page that you can access from our homepage on the left of your screen. We also are planning special giveaways and prizes to our highest donors. Our goal here at USRN is to bring you the best calls possible at no cost to you. In order to continue to do that, we need your help now. Please check out our GoFundMe page, and if you would like to know how you can help, you can email usrnradio@gmail.com. Without your support, we couldn't do what we do.
What's good, fight fans? It's your boy, Marcus Los Great, here to give you what you want, here to give you what you need. Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm coming to you live, straight from your mama's basement with a crispy white tea. They're coming to you live every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Welcome back into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. So the 3 and Out crew, I mentioned before, the 3 and Out crew, they've started this week diving through the entire NFL. This has been AFC week, and next week is going to be NFC week. I wanted to do kind of my own little mini version of that, doing just the NFC North here for the last couple minutes. I think the North as a whole is going to be a very upside-down, topsy-turvy, jumbled division. I look at it and I see the Packers clearly have the best quarterback in the division, but I think that the roster behind him is one of the weakest ones in the division. Yes, I'm a Bears fan, so obviously, take that with a grain of salt, I guess. I don't like the Packers. But when I look at the Packers roster, they overachieved last year getting to the NFC Championship game. I don't think that team is that good. So I look for the Packers to take a drop back. I don't think the Packers are going to go 13-3 and just be that great again this year. Yes, Aaron Rodgers is still spectacular. Name me a wide receiver other than Devontae Adams. I dare you. They've got Devontae Adams and then Joe Blow from Kokomo that they just signed off the street before the game. They don't have anybody there. Yes, they've got Aaron Jones at running back, but they struggled to use him correctly. They needed help at wide receiver. This was the deepest wide receiver draft class ever, and they drafted a quarterback with their first pick and traded up to take a quarterback with the first pick. So I look for the Packers to take a step back. I don't think the Packers are just going to be that strong, that good this year. Then you look at the Lions. Taryn, Alan Lazard. Yeah, that's the other guy for the Packers. Thank you, Taryn. Well, he also goes by Joe Blow from Kokomo. I heard on Let's Whine About Sports a couple weeks ago, he was doing his his football preview, and he likes the Lions to come out of the NFC North. And I jokingly asked him, "Are you sure that's not whiskey in your glass there instead of wine?" And he assured me it wasn't. But the Lions, yes, they've got a great roster. They've made some big upgrades. They've made some good moves. The Lions, though, and Matthew Stafford is an excellent quarterback, and I do expect him to stay healthy. But the Lions, they're just always one of those teams that figures out how to do less with more. They're one of those teams that if you're playing against them in Madden, oh man, yeah, the computer knows just what to do with those players, knows just what to do with the talent that's there. The actual coaches, they don't have a clue. They figure out how to lose games week in and week out. And so until the Lions can show that they know how to close out games, that they know how to play a full 60-minute game. I know there was the stat about the Lions that last year that, boy, if you ended every game with 5 or 7 minutes left to go, boy, they would have won so many more games. Yeah, but there were still those 5 or 7 minutes left in every game, and the Lions figured out how to blow it in all those games. That's unfortunately kind of what the Lions do. So I don't trust the Lions to take that step and be a division champion. Are they good enough? Talent-wise, yes, they've got the talent. At the very least, they should be pushing for a wild card, if not the division. This division is there for the taking. But I don't trust the Lions' ability to close out. Then there's the Vikings. They've, again, unbelievably talented roster, spectacular. Oh, I love the Vikings' defense. Best defense in the division other than Chicago's. I like what the Vikings have done this offseason. They made some great moves, and that defense is strong. But Dalvin Cook's in the contract negotiation. Yeah, they ought to be able to square that up and get that taken care of before too late, but you don't know. And then Kirk Cousins, Mr. If I get COVID, if I die, I die. Oh boy, do you really trust that guy going down the stretch? So this division, give me the Vikings to actually take the division, but the other three teams could finish anywhere from 2 to 4, and I'd believe you. At least one of them, though, should make it into a wild card spot. They're good enough for that. They should be doing that. Maybe even 2 of the teams should fit it in there. All right, that's my show for tonight. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening. Thank you to Marcus and for Larry for chiming in on the chat, and for Taryn. I know you've got your show coming up, SoCal Supreme Sports Show, coming up next. Stick around for that. Hear about some great California sports. Thank you guys so much for listening. Again, starting next week, this show moves from Wednesdays to Mondays. Same time, 6 Central, but now on Mondays. We're going to be talking lots of Bears coming up in the weeks coming up. I am so looking forward to it. Thank you guys so much for spending some time with me and experiencing this with me. Once again, this is Chi-Town Weekly. I am your host, Adam Karnick. Stay tuned to IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Have a good night. Have a good week. We'll talk to you next time.